Hey, you guys, thanks for listening into this episode on Today with Tips with T. I have Miss Bri with us. Hey, Miss Bri, how you doing today?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
I am an entrepreneur coach. So my mission is to help entrepreneurs be more successful in business. And I do it through a combination of education, coaching, and community.
Awesome. So I think that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about. So what are the first steps to take when we are trying to launch a business?
Well, the first step, obviously, is what kind of business do you want to start and what is your idea? So one of the things that I lead new entrepreneurs through is a little bit of actually personal development, because you want to make sure that you're launching a business that is not just a good idea, but is actually a business that you are going to, one, be able to, and to be excited to run day in and day out for years moving forward. So we do some values work. And the reason we do this values work is because if you start a business that doesn't align with your core values of who you are and what you need in the world, you're not going to be happy running your business. Example, when I first started my first business, I started a fashion label. I had my own fashion brand. And I realized after I had shut it down 8 years later that my top core value was freedom. And when I did my values exercise, I was like, oh my gosh, I know now why I had to shut that business down. And it's because that business is not aligned with living a freedom-based life. And so I always have people when they're getting ready to start a business, business happens from the inside out. You have to start with you. You're the entrepreneur. If you're building a business that goes against everything you need to be happy in the world, you're not going to be able to build it into a successful, sustainable business.
Awesome. So I guess, can you give us some tips on how to get to that place and so we can build more wealth?
Yep. So once you've gone through your values, then you need to start identifying who are you serving? Who is your customer base? And then what is their biggest problem? And then how do you solve that problem? The best businesses in the world, they all solve problems. You look at all the businesses, even the ones that don't look like they solve problems, they do solve problems. So you need to know who you're serving, what their problem is, and how you're providing a solution to that problem in order to have customers who see value in giving you money for your solution, whether that be a product or a service.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. And when we are doing this, we're realizing these are some of our skill sets. So like, how can we monetize our skills? Because a lot of people don't think that we can, but you can actually use your skills to monetize your skills to make wealth and profit.
This is one of my favorite things, because when we look at ourselves and we look at like, oh, this skill that I have is easy for me. It comes easy to me. It's fun for me. I love doing it. The next thought for most entrepreneurs is, why would anyone pay me to do this thing?
Right.
And here's why. Because it's easy for us. We think that there's no value in it for other people.
Right.
But what you're good at and what I'm good at and what your listener is good at are all very different things. So I pay for a lot of things that I probably, frankly, could do myself, but it's actually better for me to pay someone who's an expert in it.
Right.
I just hired a TikTok strategist. Could I develop up an entire TikTok strategy on my own? Yeah, I probably could. But at the end of the day, it would take a lot of knowledge and education and understanding for me to know exactly what to do and how to do it effectively. It's easy for her. I think she's like 22 years old or something. So like TikTok for her is like it's like second nature to her. So it's easy for her. It's not easy for me. Right. So even though, I can look at it and say like, oh, it's not easy for me, I'm going to hire someone else to do it. Because it comes easy for her, she's monetizing it. And she has actually a full client roster right now. She actually doesn't have space to take on anyone else.
Yeah.
So my invitation to your listeners is, whatever you think is easy for you is absolutely something you should be monetizing. And there are people out there that will pay you for it. Just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for someone else.
Yeah, you got to also too, you got to remember, like, to them, it's a convenience to have you. Because even with me, like with me, I have bad allergies. So whenever I try to dust or clear anything in my house, I get sick because my allergies are so severe and bad. And I never thought to utilize maybe a cleaning service to come in and dust until this season when I noticed that my allergies are really bad. And it was just like, I know I can do these things for myself, but just the convenience of someone else coming in and doing the service for me to help, me to maintain my allergies and not get sick is convenient for me because it's like, okay, now I don't have to worry about getting sick. Now I don't have to worry about paying a hospital bill. And if I have to go to the doctor or whatever. So I just started looking at things that way too. And now, especially when it comes to some of my skill sets, look at it as, okay, you're conveniently helping someone else. It's convenience to them. So don't downgrade or think low upon yourself because you think it's such an easy task and wow, somebody will pay for it.
The other thing I think about too is like, okay, what is my hourly rate? So if I'm spending time generating clients, what is like, how much am I making for that? Right. Now, if I'm taking time away from money generating activities and I'm having to learn and research and figure things out and have trial and error and make mistakes and have to redo it and all that stuff, how much is that actually costing me? So I think a lot of people look at like DIY and think like, oh, it's free, it's not costing me anything.
Yeah, but it is time consuming. Yeah, it can be time consuming and it can cost you time where you can be working on something else. And I think that's the power of that. I mean, and that's actually the power of outsourcing. If you know it's going to take you a long particular time to get a task done, go ahead and outsource it.
Exactly. If it's going to take you 100 hours to learn something, figure it out, execute it, do all the things, whatever, and say your rate is $100 an hour, it's costing you $1,000. But maybe you can hire someone who could get it done in 20 minutes or whatever, right? And maybe or an hour, maybe their hourly rate is $50. So it's costing you $50 rather than taking away $1,000 from your business. Obviously, it's better to hire that person and to outsource to that person. So, when you're in the mindset of this, you can then attract other clients to be in the mindset of this, knowing that when they're hiring you for something that's easy for you, that it is going to actually be a benefit to them rather than a cost, a sunk cost.
Awesome. So share with us some of your experience that had allowed you to help female entrepreneurs on their journey.
Yeah. So I started my first business at the age of 23. So like I mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. When I started that business, it was actually a side hustle. And so I had a full-time job at that point, and I was actually a counselor. So I was spending the majority of my days as a counselor, moonlighting as a fashion designer, and then had both of those things going for about 8 years. Every time I would increase my hours in my fashion business, I would decrease my hours as a counselor, but I was doing both. And then I transitioned into being an entrepreneur, essentially counselor, an entrepreneur coach. And so I combined my experience from both. And within the first year, I think I trained like 3,000 people within my first year of business. And I just celebrated my 7th year anniversary going into my 8th year of business in this business. And I've had the pleasure of helping thousands of entrepreneurs either go from like zero to their first dollar, or zero to their first 5-figure month, or zero to their first 7-figure year. I love helping especially new entrepreneurs. I do also work with already established entrepreneurs, but I really love making the entrepreneurial process easier. And so whether that's you're have an idea and you're ready to make your first dollar, whether that's, you're ready to hit your first 6 figures, or you're already at 6 figures, ready to make your first 7, that's kind of my wheelhouse. And I love it. I love the women I get to help. I love the success stories that I get to share. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bri, for being on the show today. So I'm going to share the social media handles, tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you, with services, if you're offering any right now. If you would like to. Okay.
So Instagram is the best place if you actually want to talk to me. If you resonated with something about this interview, or if you have a question for me, DM me on Instagram. I will send you a voice memo back. You can also follow me on Facebook, connect with me on LinkedIn. And then my website is the best place to learn about my services. Like I said, I have a program specifically for new entrepreneurs, and then also some resources for free resources for new entrepreneurs. I also have a program for established entrepreneurs. and some free resources for established entrepreneurs. And then if you're looking to hire me privately, if you're already at 6 figures and looking to scale past that, I also do private coaching for 2 entrepreneurs a year as well.
Awesome. And if you guys want to get in contact with me, you can do so. My number is 910-317-0396. You can shoot me an email at contact@mjfinancial.biz. You can schedule a consultation on the website at www.mjfinancial.biz. You can find this episode on Anchor, you guys, and you can also find this playback for the video on the YouTube channel as well. And you guys, please make sure you check Miss Bri out if you're looking to scale your business. I think she'll be very, very beneficial to you all. And you guys, thank you once again, Miss Bri, for being on the show today. I highly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you as well.
And all right, you guys, we will see you on the next episode of Tips with T.